welcome to another episode of Grow an Online Business. Got some changes that I'm going to be making. There's a couple things that are going to happen. First and foremost, there's going to be a huge shift in the podcast, and so wait for it. That'll be the next episode. But in this episode, I want to test something. I actually made a course. I've got a couple of courses now on Udemy, and I've been testing those to see how well they're doing. And I actually found a couple that wanted to kind of review one of the courses. So I'm going to upload that now. And it's a recording that I got after they reviewed it. And so let me know what you think, because it is interesting. I had them review the source material, which was my course, and I feel like they did a pretty good job talking about it. But please let me know what you think, because I'm really, really curious. And after the episode, I may tell you who it was that I had do the review. So anyway, give it a listen. Let me know. Thanks.
Okay, let's dive right into something that, well, it touches everyone's life. Relationships.
Absolutely.
Today, we're doing a deep dive, and our source material takes a really unique approach. It's excerpts from an audio course called The Unspoken Language of Love, Deepening Your Connection.
That's right. And what's so interesting here is how it takes these powerful psychological principles, stuff often used in understanding, like social influence or power dynamics.
Right.
And it adapts them very thoughtfully, specifically to help you build healthier, more understanding, really fulfilling romantic partnerships.
And the key thing, it seems, is this focus on ethical application.
Exactly.
It's not about manipulation. It's presented as using these insights for genuine connection, for empathy. So our mission today really is to unpack the core ideas from this material. We want to see how these principles, which you might see in, wider human interaction, can be applied effectively, ethically, within the intimacy of a partnership.
Yeah, finding those surprising perspectives on how we connect, how we communicate, how we build bonds that actually last.
Think of it like learning a new language almost.
Kind of. A deeper fluency in the language you didn't even know was being spoken right there in your relationship.
I like that. It's about building with your partner, not working on them.
Precisely.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Where does the source material even begin? Seems like a huge topic.
It starts, maybe surprisingly, for a course on relationships. It starts with you.
With me. Okay.
Yeah, the core idea is, before you can really understand your partner, you absolutely must understand yourself. It really emphasizes how our own emotional self, as it calls it, is this massive driver of our thinking, our decisions.
And it can lead us astray sometimes.
Often leads us into irrational patterns, especially in how we interact with the people closest to us.
So my own internal state is kind of coloring everything I see in the relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it brings up this concept that everyone, ourselves included, wears a kind of mask. And being truly honest about your own character, acknowledging your strengths, sure, but also critically your weaknesses, your biases. That's presented as the essential first step. Self-mastery, basically.
It's you need before you can relate well to someone else.
Exactly. It's foundational.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? Pull back that mask? It sounds, intense.
It is a bit. The source recommends rigorous self-scrutiny, like really looking closely at how you act under stress. Do you tend to just, people please to avoid conflict? Or do you get demanding, maybe controlling?
Or suspicious, maybe.
Or default to mistrust, yeah.
Right.
It encourages looking at past decisions, especially ones that didn't work out, and digging into the underlying insecurities or those ingrained patterns that might have been driving things.
What about the parts of ourselves we kind of don't want to look at? Does it go there?
Oh, it absolutely does. It talks about acknowledging what it calls the shadow.
The shadow.
Yeah, those more difficult, sometimes aggressive, or maybe repressed impulses and desires that just pop up unconsciously. The material really challenges you to ask some direct, sometimes uncomfortable questions like, why does this specific thing make me so angry?
Or where does this need for attention actually stem from?
Exactly, those kinds of questions.
So it's not about, eliminating those impulses then?
No, not at all. That's key. The goal isn't elimination. It's acknowledgement, understanding, and then channeling that energy.
Channeling it. How?
Well, that potentially destructive aggression, for instance.
Yeah.
It could be transformed into productive energy, maybe for tackling relationship challenges together.
Okay, so using it constructively.
Right. By embracing your authentic character, flaws and all, you actually gain power. That sensitivity you might see as a weakness. With awareness, you could channel that into really powerful, active empathy for your partner.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. You got to know what you're bringing to the table, the good and the challenging bits.
Mm-hmm.
But the source also touches on something that might make people scrum a bit, this idea that humans are inherently maybe narcissistic to some degree.
Yeah, it doesn't pull punches there.
Yeah.
It suggests we are kind of naturally self-absorbed. We're drawn to people who validate our views, confirm how we see the world.
Which feels good, obviously.
Of course, and healthy self-esteem is good. But the source argues that excessive inward focus, that constant preoccupation with me, it really blunts our ability to feel genuine empathy for others.
Ouch. Okay, so the first step there is just admitting it, owning up to that tendency.
Precisely. You can't work with it if you deny it's there. The key strategy the source proposes is to transform this self-focus, turn that sensitivity outward.
Towards your partner.
Towards your partner. And this involves a conscious effort, really, to quiet that incessant interior monologue.
The constant chatter in your own head.
Yeah, that voice. And genuinely train yourself to listen, really listen.
So it's actively shifting from how does this affect me to really trying to grasp what is my partner experiencing right now.
Exactly. And it points out something important.
Yeah.
Genuine confidence, that secure sense of self, that's attractive.
Whereas neediness
often pushes people away. So by channeling that self-absorption, maybe even a need to control things, into shared activities, projects you do together, you kind of calm that internal focus. You direct the energy productively.
So healthy self-focus isn't bad. It actually gives you the energy to then focus outward.
That's the idea. Energy to direct into building a shared life, a deeper connection.
Okay, that makes sense. So once you've started that journey of understanding yourself, where does the source suggest turning your attention next?
Well, naturally, the next step is understanding your partner.
Right.
And this part of the material really emphasizes developing what it calls an empathic attitude.
Empathic attitude. Ugh.
It suggests starting from a place of, assuming you're basically ignorant about your partner's inner world.
Ignorant. That sounds harsh.
Well, not negatively ignorant, but like approaching them as an undiscovered country.
Ah, okay. I like that metaphor.
Yeah, someone with their own unique psychological chemistry. Just like you have layers, masks, they do too. And you need to look beyond that surface presentation.
Undiscovered country. Yeah, that really lands. So how do we start exploring this territory?
The number one method suggested is deep listening.
Deep listening.
Which means consciously reversing your usual impulse, the impulse to formulate your response while they're still talking.
Or to jump in with your own story.
Exactly. Instead, you give your absolute full attention to their viewpoint, actively shutting down that internal monologue we talked about.
So it's not just waiting politely for your turn to speak. It's really trying to inhabit their perspective for a moment.
That's it, exactly. The quality of your listening is crucial. The source suggested doing this well, and maybe even subtly mirroring back what you're hearing or sensing from them. That can have a tremendous seductive effect.
Seductive? How so?
Not seductive in a manipulative way, but in the sense of profoundly drawing your partner closer, because they feel truly seen, truly heard.
That deep level of understanding is attractive.
Incredibly. And beyond the words, you also need to become a keen observer of nonverbal cues.
Body language, tone of voice.
Body language, micro-expressions, those fleeting looks on their face, tone of voice, even their breathing patterns. These often reveal the true feelings that their words might be trying to hide or downplay.
Like the classic, I'm fine, but their arms across, jaw is tight.
Precisely. The material advises paying really close attention to those mixed signals. And interestingly, it suggests giving more weight to the negative nonverbals.
Why negative?
Because they're often harder to fake. They could be a more genuine indicator of what's really going on underneath. It describes this as developing visceral empathy.
Visceral, like a gut feeling.
Yeah, it's like getting a gut feeling, almost a physical sense of their mood or their intention that goes beyond just the word. It's that moment you feel their tension or their excitement, even if they're trying to play it cool.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Learning to read the subtext, the cues below the surface. But the source also suggests that understanding the present moment isn't quite enough, that the past plays a really big role too.
Absolutely. Yeah, this section highlights how a person's character their core values, their typical emotional reactions. They're deeply shaped by their early life,
Family stuff.
especially family relationships,
Ah,
and experiences with authority figures. These experiences create what the source calls trigger points.
trigger points.
Yeah.
Sensitive spots.
Exactly. Areas of particular sensitivity that can still be very active today, even if the original situation was years ago.
So stuff from childhood can still influence how they react to me right now?
Constantly.
Yeah.
The Force recommends using what it calls analytic empathy,
Analytic empathy. Okay.
which means gently gathering information about your partner's early life, their background, not like an interrogation, obviously.
Right.
You can do this by asking open-ended questions,
Mhm.
or maybe by building trust through sharing sincere, well-chosen admissions about your own past.
Making it mutual.
Exactly. The goal is to understand what makes them unique, really recognizing that their history makes them different from you in some fundamental ways.
And this influences what they value, what they see as important.
Absolutely. How your partner interprets love or attention or generosity, their entire value system around these crucial relationship elements, it's largely formed back in childhood, and it might be significantly different from yours.
Wow. So what I think is showing love might not register the same way for them because of that history.
It might not. Understanding those foundational influences is key. It helps you navigate sensitive areas without accidentally stepping on those landmines, those trigger points from their past.
Okay. So we've explored understanding ourselves, understanding our partner. That's a lot already. How does the source suggest we take all that understanding and use it to actually connect, to communicate effectively?
Right. This moves us into what the source calls the art of influence. But again, the focus is always on building connection, not control.
Got it. Ethical influence.
Yes. The source notes something fascinating. Emotions are incredibly contagious.
Like yawning.
Kind of, yeah. It means you can subtly infect your partner with a desirable mood. If you want connection, you project warmth, openness.
And that creates an atmosphere of comfort, lowers resistance.
Exactly. It also points out that subtle mirroring, like unconsciously matching their body posture, their mood, even their verbal style, creates this deep unconscious comfort.
Why does that work?
People feel profoundly at ease when they see aspects of themselves reflected back. It's a primal thing.
So if I want a calm, open conversation, I need to embody that calm, open energy myself first.
That's the core idea. The strategy involves adopting an attitude of, well, it uses terms like complete indulgence, non-judgment, and genuine relaxation yourself.
Indulgence.
Not in a spoiling way, but in an accepting way. The source suggests this can have an almost hypnotic effect.
Hypnotic. Wow.
Because it replicates that feeling of unconditional acceptance we all deep down crave. And beyond just mood, subtly mirroring physical cues, gestures, maybe even breathing patterns, builds that deep unconscious rapport.
It mentions Lyndon Johnson.
Yeah, it brings up LBJ's technique. Apparently, he'd use a simple, non-threatening touch on someone's hand or arm. But crucially, avoid direct eye contact while doing it.
Oh. Why avoid eye contact?
Made it feel less confrontational, more subconscious, and it apparently established incredible rapport very quickly. It's an example of how subtle physical connection can be powerful.
Wow, that tiny cue. So my own state, my subtle actions, they really set the stage for the whole interaction.
They can effectively shape the entire dynamic. That subtle mirroring makes your partner feel profoundly understood, totally at ease, which naturally fosters openness and that willingness to connect.
Okay. Now, the source material also seems to challenge this common idea that you can convince someone just by, arguing your point really hard.
Oh, it's quite clear on that. Direct attempts to change someone's mind through argument usually just creates defensiveness, resistance.
So what's more effective?
The source argues appealing to a person's self-interest is far, far more effective than trying to appeal to their sense of mercy or even gratitude.
Self-interest. Yep.
And it highlights this deep inherent need people have to have their existing self-opinion confirmed. We want to believe we are who we think we are.
Ah, okay. So you work with their view of themselves instead of trying to tear it down or challenge it directly.
Exactly. A key strategy presented here is strategic flattery.
Flattery. Doesn't that seem manipulative?
It can be, if done badly. But the source suggests flattering qualities your partner is maybe most insecure about.
Ah, hitting those soft spots.
Right, because validating them there can be profoundly pleasing. It touches an area where they crave confirmation, but it has to be subtle, it has to feel genuine, focused on something specific they might be uncertain about, and delivered in a way that just shows you like them for it.
Okay, subtle and specific.
And when you communicate, Generally, avoid positioning yourself as being in opposition. Instead, confirm their self-opinion first. You're such a thoughtful person. Starting there helps them relax, makes them much more open to suggestion or maybe seeing a different perspective.
So validation is like the key that unlocks the door to openness.
It really seems to be presented that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you do hit stubbornness, resistance, the Course suggests using mental judo.
Mental judo, like using their force against them.
Kind of. Instead of pushing directly against their will, you seem to agree with their underlying emotion, or maybe even use their exact language, and then gently redirect their will.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, it gives a really compelling one about Milton Erickson, the famous hypnotherapist. He was trying to help a couple reconcile, but the husband was absolutely fixated on getting a friendly divorce.
Okay, friendly divorce.
So instead of arguing against divorce, Erickson agreed with the husband's desire for a friendly outcome. He validated that core word, that emotion.
Ah, so he joined him on that word friendly.
Exactly, which disarmed the husband. It allowed Erickson to then gently guide the conversation towards exploring what a truly friendly outcome could really look like, which eventually led them back towards reconciliation.
That's incredibly clever. You step into their frame of mind to guide them somewhere new.
It's all about that subtle redirection. And the application in a relationship is to consistently try and frame discussions, requests, in terms of mutual benefit, or how something serves your partner's self-interest.
So they feel their needs are being met too.
Right. When they feel their own needs are being considered and met, they're much more receptive to meeting yours or working together. You're essentially speaking their deep-seated psychological language.
Okay. Wow. So we've covered understanding ourselves, understanding our partner, communicating effectively. That brings us to the final section we looked at from the source. Building those lasting bonds, trust, commitment, keeping the spark alive.
Right. This is where the long-term strategy really comes into play. The source points out this fundamental human trait. We have this almost obsessive desire to be and to appear consistent with what we have already done.
We like to be consistent. Okay.
It's a powerful driver. And it means that small agreements, maybe even public ones or shared goals, they act like anchors. They reinforce dedication and commitment over time.
So like setting a specific goal together for the future, or making a small promise about a shared activity.
Exactly. Those acts build momentum. They reinforce that internal need for consistency. And it links back, again, to mutual self-interest.
How so?
It emphasizes that relationships are strongest when both partners genuinely feel their needs are being met, their self-interest is served.
Yeah.
It describes this beautifully as a cord of mutual self-interest woven of many fibers.
Many fibers. I like that.
Yeah. And here's a really fascinating application of this consistency principle. When you need a favor from your partner, instead of listing all the things you've done for them recently, which can feel like keeping score, right?
Yeah, nobody likes that.
Remind them of the good things they have done for you in the past.
Oh, flip it around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It subtly validates their self-opinion. Yes, I am a generous person, or yes, I am helpful. And that makes them want to continue living up to that positive image they hold of themselves.
Wow, that completely flips the script. Instead of inducing guilt, you're appealing to their positive self-image.
It's a powerful, subtle shift. And the source strongly emphasizes prioritizing shared experiences, especially experiences that involve maybe a little bit of hardship.
Hardship, not just fun stuff.
Not just fun stuff, overcoming a challenge together, navigating difficulties side by side. The source argues that LM does more to forge a deep, resilient bond than, say, expensive gifts or just constant comfort.
Why?
It reinforces mutual reliance. It creates a sense of a shared journey, that you face something together.
That's a strong point. Facing challenges together bonds you more than just relaxing together all the time. But comfort is important in a long-term relationship, right? How does the source balance that need for security with, well, keeping things exciting?
That's a crucial paradox it tackles head-on. While intimacy brings necessary comfort, security, the source explicitly warns that excessive familiarity can destroy crystallization.
Crystallization, like the magic.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
That initial spark, that idealization, it puts it very bluntly, familiarity is the death of seduction.
Oof.
So to keep a relationship vibrant, alive, over the long haul, you need to consciously introduce an element of healthy unpredictability.
So not letting things get too comfortable, too routine.
Exactly. The strategy is to introduce what it calls calculated surprises, or positive jolts.
Jolts, like electric shocks.
No, not literally. More like unexpected gestures of affection, trying entirely new experiences together, even perhaps a brief strategic absence, not always being instantly 100% available.
Playing hard to get.
Not quite playing games, but more about maintaining a little positive tension. It keeps your partner positively off balance in a good way, engaged, curious about what might happen next.
Like cultivating a little bit of healthy mystery around things.
Precisely that. Cultivating a subtle air of mystery, maybe around yourself, maybe around your shared world. The source also suggests something interesting, a well-timed display of strategic weakness and vulnerability.
Weakness. How does that help?
Paradoxically, it can disarm your partner, deepen intimacy, makes them feel needed, trusted in a new way.
Letting them in on a vulnerability.
Exactly. And creating a sense of a shared secret or complicity against the world, that inside joke, that shared perspective only you two get, that can bind partners together with a really unique, powerful bond.
That us against the world feeling.
Yeah. And it also mentions a concept called mixed pleasure with pain, which sounds alarming, but needs careful interpretation.
Okay.
It's definitely not about being cruel. It's more about a gentle shake-up now and then to prevent complacency.
Just shake up how?
Think of it like maybe an unexpected boundary being set, or a moment of slight, harmless irrationality. But crucially, quickly followed by warmth and reassurance.
So it's a brief disruption, then connection.
Exactly. That gentle jolt can prevent the connection from feeling static, predictable, dead. It can actually rekindle desire by reminding both partners that the relationship is dynamic, it's alive.
Wow, that is definitely a different perspective on keeping things vibrant. It challenges that idea that total predictability and comfort should always be the ultimate goal.
It really asks you to consider what truly sustains engagement, desire, connection over years, not just the initial weeks or months.
So, okay. We've taken quite a deep dive into this fascinating source material. We've explored how these powerful psychological principles can be, ethically adapted and applied within your romantic relationship.
Yeah, we've seen how understanding your own emotional self, acknowledging that shadow, is really the fundamental starting point.
Yeah.
And how consciously turning that self-focus outward enables true empathy for your partner.
Right. And we explored how deep listening, really paying attention to nonverbals, can help you uncover that undiscovered country, your partner's inner world, which is so profoundly shaped by their early experiences, those trigger points.
And then we unpacked the art of communication, that contagious power of your own mood, the little connection built through mirroring, and how speaking your partner's language, confirming their self-opinion, using that mental judo, how that's often way more effective than just direct argument.
Definitely. And finally, we looked at building those lasting bonds, reinforcing consistency through mutual self-interest, prioritizing shared experiences, especially the ones that involve overcoming a bit of hardship together.
Right. And maybe most counterintuitively, we touched on the importance of balancing that comfortable intimacy with calculated unpredictability, keeping the connection vibrant, preventing familiarity from becoming, the death of desire.
It really feels like these insights, when they're applied with genuine empathy, with a focus on building together, they offer really powerful ways to deepen understanding and strengthen the bonds in your relationship.
Yeah, it's not about changing the other person, is it?
No.
It's about engaging more skillfully, more compassionately with the dynamics that are already there.
Using this understanding to create a more robust, dynamic, and ultimately more fulfilling connection with the person you love.
Oh, well said.
So here's something maybe to consider as you go about your day today. Think about that idea, that balancing act between comfort and familiarity on one hand and healthy unpredictability on the other. What small, unexpected gesture could you maybe introduce today? Something to add a little positive jolt, maybe rekindle a little spark in your relationship.
Just a simple thought, yeah, but one that could potentially make a real difference.
Absolutely. Thanks for going on this deep dive with us.